bombs, rockets, etc., to countries that are involved in conflict?
Well, it doesn't have anything to say specifically and directly on that issue, but what it does say is that a state which knowingly assists or aids another state to commit a violation of international law itself is internationally responsible. So, for example, if a state is providing weaponry to Hezbollah which is knowingly being used to target civilians, that too could constitute a violation of international law. And if the United Kingdom is knowingly allowing the United States to refuel on shipments of weapons that are being used as part of a disproportionate and excessive use of force in violation of international law, then depending on what the facts are, that could give rise to an international responsibility.
But the question which flows therefore from your answer is the international community would have to deem that Israel was indeed using disproportionate force, which of course the UN Secretary General has already stated, but would have to rule on that for there to be a case involving Britain.
No, I don't think there would be a need for a prior ruling from anybody. I mean, each case turns on its own facts. I mean, it looks pretty clear on the basis of the material that's in the public domain that targeting, for example, large parts of Beirut in relation to the kidnapping of two Israeli soldiers appears to be excessive and disproportionate use of force. And so I think that the facts give rise at least to a case to answer that the United Kingdom ought to be inquiring as to what these weapons, if they are weapons, are going to be used for.
But who has the power to bring such a case?
Well, the issue here, targeting of civilians or disproportionate use of force, is that it gives rise to an international crime, possibly a war crime. And war crime attracts individual responsibility. And so individuals who were associated with authorizing assistance, aiding or abetting the commission of international crimes can themselves be internationally criminally liable. And that type of jurisdiction extends universally. It's the Pinochet principle.
Well, that takes us to what Louise Arbour said the other day, that she feared that war crimes had been committed. Still begs the question, who would bring such a charge?
Well, it can happen at two levels. There are charges against a state. That's, I think, unlikely to happen because it's hard to see who would bring proceedings against the UK or the US, at least in the immediate future. But more likely, I think, over the long term, is the question of individual responsibility. Just as you have individual responsibility for the crime of torture, you have individual responsibility for targeting civilians or for the excessive use of force.
Professor Sands, thank you very much indeed for joining us.